We're live right after this game on the Hawk Zone. Man, smiles on our faces here because finally getting a win here after a tough stretch with, 3 games in 11 days. The mini bye, we talked about how huge that was going to be with the reset. Seahawks putting up 34 in Atlanta's house and holding the Falcons to 14. We're going to get into all of it on the other side.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game.
And it's run. What a run. Get off me.
DK.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's John Schneider with the Seattle Seahawks.
And Washington's got away. Leon Washington. Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. The Seahawks are going to hold the NFC Championship.
Every year, the NFL does. Is it going to be another 9 and 8?
Players who have got a bit of something.
They have to fix the offense.
Part of his success and part of
ambition of being the LOB
Want to hear? That's trading DK Metcalf.
Play him aggressive.
This is the Hawk Zone Rundown with Ryan and Bryce.
You guys are watching the Hawk Zone, coming at you guys live right after this 34-14 victory in Atlanta's house. Man, it feels good, Bryce, to get a win here. Like, we're going to get into it, break down the game. Guys, first of all, just throw the comments out there. Anybody that's tuning in right now, we want to interact with you guys. So throw the comments down. How good did that feel, guys, to finally get a win here under the belt? 4-3 going back home. Team was building confidence as the game went on. Bryce, I want to get your thoughts real quick, though. I want to say this. I'm going to throw this out there because we've been adamant about it. I hope things start quieting down about this DK trade, all this stuff for some picks and all this kind of stuff. I mean, he's a baller, and he balled. And at the end, how big was that TD at the end of the first half? You want to talk about the play call? Runs a great route, comes down, gets hit, touchdown going to the halftime. That was huge. That was a big swing. And I'll just say this, man. Like, you could talk about, we'll pick up some picks, get some O-line, get the money off the table. Abundant of receivers that come into the draft every year. It's hard to replace a guy like that. I don't care what anybody says. So, I'm going to stick to my guns, and I want to see this guy in long term. But other than that, man, hell of a game. Give me your thoughts.
It felt good to see this team almost play a complete game as a unit. We've talked about their first 3 wins, how there were moments where the defense played really well and the offense kind of had their ups and downs, and vice versa, like the Detroit game where the offense played well throughout the entire game, but our defense wasn't able to hold up. This is the first time it kind of looked like a more complete picture of what these guys can look like. Now, again, we had some issues. Like, we had a lot of guys out in the secondary, and you saw a lot of backups in there, which Josh Jobe played really well at corner with Pritchett out there as well. Like, they had moments where you could see they were still young in this system and learning things. But, Kobe Bryant really impressed me today. Like, he looks like he's made a natural switch to safety. Like, he was flying around. Yeah, again, he missed a few tackles here and there. But he looked like a factor as a safety, which he, since his rookie year hasn't really been kind of talked about much. And, I've been one guy that's been really high on his ability to make that switch. Offensively, it was so nice to see us be able to change up our play action to, be under center, run the ball successfully, then allow, Gino to come off that play action, set up, hit guys deep over on over routes and crossers. But, there's still areas of this team that need to be cleaned up and need to be worked on. And we can't assume this one victory solves everything. Winning does solve some things. What I will say, though, is Mike Jarrell, huge upgrade over Stone Forsythe as a right tackle. And it was evident because it wasn't like he was going up against some, no-name D lineman. He had most of his reps came against Matthew Judon, who's been one of the better pass rushers in the NFL for the past few seasons. And he pretty much, outside of, I think, 1 rep, got beat today. And he opened up holes in the run game. He gave Gino ample protection. It was amazing to see what it looked like when we have a functioning right tackle. And I don't know how they even contemplate putting Stone Forsythe back in any time in the future. I think it's Mike Jarrell. And here's a question I'll pose to you. If Mike Jarrell plays this well again next week versus Buffalo and potentially the week after, does this extend Abe Lucas's window to continue to get healthy if he needs to and allow George Fant to come back and actually be a true swing tackle? That's something that I'm kind of curious about.
I mean, look, man, Jarrell looks solid as hell. I mean, this guy was playing Div 2 ball last year. To come in, you talk about how high they were, but you didn't expect him to hold it down that good at right tackle. So he was impressive, and they were highlighting him on the telecast today. They were talking about him, like the Ken Walker touchdown for whatever it was, 24 yards. That started with him. And it was impressive. And I think that absolutely, if he plays like that again next week, there is no rush to get Abe in. The offensive line looked okay. At one point, they had 2 rookies in out of the 5, right? Christian Haynes was getting some play, and then you had Jarrell out there. Gino had to ad-lib a little bit and do his thing like he's been doing, but it was working out. It was just like you said. I think the key, what you just said, was complete game. It was like the run game got going. You can see the importance of Ken Walker, and you love Zach Charbonnet, but just when there's nothing happening, and then Ken does something and then picks up 5 yards here and then another 5 yards there. It's just everything was complete, man. DK balling. Noah Fant, like you mentioned, involved in the game. There was just like we talked about before the season, like weapons, right? Weapons at the disposal. And I think people were quick to be like, whoa, what's going on with Noah Fant? Why did we sign him? And that you and I sometimes got to slow down a little bit. It's a long season, but everybody was involved, complete game. And yeah, if like you and I said, man, we're at this point, I'm not holding my breath for Abe Lucas, even if he comes back. I'd love him to come back. But the point is not, do you come back this season? Do you stay here? And are you our long-term right tackle for the next 4, 5, 6 seasons moving forward? And that's the question. Not, okay, you come back and then there's something else that happens 4 games down the road. And I think the Seahawks know that. So if you got a guy like this that's a young kid, we talked about other young guys that they've kept on this roster. LeMay is another guy that, this offensive line with Scott Huff and Grubb can grow this thing and find the right pieces. That's encouraging and positive. So yeah, Jarrell was impressive, man. We definitely have to touch on him. And first game in the NFL to starting and that showing. Very, very impressive, man. And like I said, just everybody looked. It was a complete game. And then we gotta touch on the takeaways. Something we've been stressing. And I understand a couple but the big one was the true one was that first one where Mafe came in, pressure on Cousins, hits the ball out, and there's Derek Hall to scoop it up, a scoop and score. How nice was that to see finally? And then they just started piling up. You talk about 3 turnovers, 2 picks later, Love, and then Kobe that you mentioned. That's a confidence builder for this defense, because that's one of those things where, like, hey, man, the monkey's sort of getting a little bigger on the back, and they know, hey, we haven't turned the ball over at all. And now you pile it on with 3. That's another building block and confidence boost for this squad.
Yeah, no, it was great to see our defense finally do something in the turnover margin and actually creating them, not something where it's more of like, hey, the ball popped out on the goal line and we ran it back. Like actually creating turnovers, creating, look at Byron Murphy on Julian Love. He's creating pressure up the middle. Kirk Cousins overshoots it. Julian Love gets the pick. The Boy Mafe one, the relentless pressure. Like, I truly think we found our 2 young edges in Derek Hall and Boy Mafe. Like, we've actually got 2 young guys. Now we need to get some guys in behind them.
Yep.
But today, like, again, Derek Hall, he is so fast and violent when he comes off the edge. Like, they were talking about one of Draymond Jones' sacks, and it literally only occurred because Derek Hall took Matthews and drove him back into Kirk Cousins and got a hand on Cousins to startle him enough that he stopped looking downfield, and Draymond cleaned up everything else. But, the scoop and score was awesome. The 2 interceptions from Love and Kobe Bryant. That's Kobe's first pick in the NFL.
Touch on Kobe real quick. Like how you're high on Kobe. You've been high on Kobe since we got him.
Yes.
And talking about a guy that has to come in, because we had a few guys down. But we were concerned. 2 corners, Trey Brown and Woolen, your cover dude. But here's Kobe fitting in, kind of a little bit of Swiss Army, if you want to call him. He came in the league as a corner, then converted to safety. How'd you like what you saw to Kobe today, man?
I really liked what I saw to Kobe. I saw a guy that, yes, it was his first game truly playing safety as a starter.
Right.
There were some run fits for sure he could clean up and wrap up on some of his tackles. He did get run over, I think, at one point by Robinson on a decent sized run, but he never was too far out of position. Even when, and it was one point on the telecast they talked about in Mike McDonald's system where he is playing 15 yards off or so. Like they let the safeties grab the tight ends down the field, but Kobe Bryant's right there and he makes the tackle. As soon as Pitts caught the ball, he was there and made the tackle. I really think there's going to be a conversation if, with Jenkins being out and Kobe's going to get the next 4 games, if he plays well and keeps on this trajectory, I think it'll be hard for Rayshawn Jenkins to get his job back because Kobe Bryant gives you so much more, I feel, in that safety position. You kind of end up with 2 Julian Love types because the one thing about Kobe, and I don't know if too many people realize, is when he came out of college, he was the Thorpe Award winner for top defensive back in college football the year he got drafted.
Right.
That's not something that's just lightly given out. Like you have to actually perform and show your ability on and off the field that way to be that guy, to be that type of corner. And when we got him, I went, okay, I don't know if he's a corner at the NFL because he's a little stiff. He's not as fluid as you want on the outside. So he moved him to nickel. He had impacts as a nickel his rookie year. He forced a lot of fumbles. But watching him at safety, you can see how smart he is, how much he understands the game. He was very rarely out of position. He was in perfect position for that interception down the seam. And, I think he's got a lot of upside to him where the more he plays, I think the better he's going to get. So I think there's a very good chance that Kobe Bryant and Julian Love could be our safeties moving forward in Seattle. And Rayshawn Jenkins comes back and he's now the roll-in third safety depth piece with Kayvon Wallace on occasion, just because I think Kobe gives you more. And it makes me happy because I know that dude is a baller and he proved it today, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the old adage of like you can't lose your job to an injury, but I think this is a little different because you got guys like none of these guys are tied to Mike. None of these guys like Jenkins just came in this building this year. Same with our linebackers. A lot of guys are like on prove it. Let's see what you got kind of deals or situations, and that's what we sort of said. So here's a situation, man. If you're not performing, and the defense struggling the way it's been struggling in the past, why are you going to mess around? You just came off a great. You're missing. Talk about another guy, that we'll jump into as well as Pritchett, another rookie corner that we drafted looks solid. He played great. This defense, man, first of all, 14 points to the Falcons. I want to say this right now. We're coming live, man. And this is not to like toot our own horn or any of that kind of stuff, but I said, hey, get ready for 30 plus points. And you came on, said 14. And I know you sort of altered it, but that was only because 3 of our guys in the secondary were out, and that's understandable. But you came on beforehand, said 14. And we'll just say this because that, to me, is when we talked about this mini buy and said, this is bigger than people think. This is a mini reset. Let's reset. We said it the last couple shows. Reset was the key word. Get away from football for a couple of days. You just played 3 games. You hardly had a chance to breathe. And heat's coming down everywhere. And I think that's why we said this game's so big, because let's see how they respond coming out of this mini bye. And, Mike showed that he can go on the road after, sitting down, figuring stuff out, getting together. Grubb's offense his game plan looked a lot better. It was just refreshing to see. It was awesome, man. And that's why we love this team. And we talk about the personnel, that there's got to be some, Mike's definitely going to bring some different guys in next season. But also we said, these are the guys you got. So let's at least tighten things up. Look competitive. Man, you come in after this, you're on that plane ride feeling good. And you're going home now to your house. Again, there's no reason why that place next week, the 12s aren't going to be hyped, man, because now you got a legitimate chance. Like, that was a game, you play like that every week, you got a legitimate chance to win every football game. If they played like that against the Niners, they got a legitimate chance. But I got to go back to just, dude, like you mentioned, and you talked about him all offseason, Mike Terrell. I mean, you got awesome play out of him. Awesome play out of him. So there's some optimism too. And again, we're not being like, whoa, this line's awesome now. But it gives you some optimism when you put in, at times, there's 2 rooks on that line and holding it down. it gives you optimism moving forward. And like you said, whatever this season is if it's a building block, is it an 8-win team, a 10-win team, whatever. You want to see this kind of stuff moving forward. That gets you excited. And of course, when you put a beat down on the Falcons, and that's what we're going to call it because it's a 20-point freaking win. The Falcons were running the football at one point, and it could have been a point where it was like, uh-oh, in that second quarter and into the third. But we started coming up with some plays, man, and this defense started building some confidence. So, yeah, let's get into a couple. I got to toss this one up here. I know we just talked about, but I want to hear your thoughts, man. DK not going nowhere. That's awesome to hear from Nate. But obviously, there's been people and still a guy on the Seattle, Mike Salk, just can't shut up about it, right? It's just like, get rid of him because we can get a couple of second-round draft picks for him or something. Or, I think I heard something stupid like, hey, what do you think of a first and a third? It's like, dude, you're not going to get a first and a third. Okay. So stop it. So if you got a first-round pick, just say it was a first-round pick. What's that doing for you? First of all, you've just lost him. So now you got to replace him. Okay. So what are you doing with that pick? Second of all, and I'm not singling him out because it was one play, but people talk about, we'll have JSN and with Jake Bobo. Well, you saw what you got with Jake Bobo there. And I know he can be solid sometimes, but Gino was pissed for good reason. And that is fine. And like you and me were texting, that's your number 4 guy. Maybe your number 5 guy. He's not your number 1 or number 2 guy, and he never will be. We've got to stop this DK talk out of town from everybody because this guy is not an easy replacement.
No, he's not. And I think it's going to be an ongoing polarizing discussion throughout the season because if DK has a bad game, they're all going to come back out and it's
right.
What it's going to be. Right. And it's the same conversation people are going to have with Gino, right? Like there were people last week ready to throw Gino out like completely, like get rid of him. And I came on here and said, I think Gino's a good quarterback. This is a Gino top performance today. Like he played extremely well. Yeah. He didn't throw for 300 yards. But he was extremely composed. He put the ball in good places. He got rid of it when he needed to. He didn't turn the ball over. This is what a good Gino performance looks like. And we can put up 34 points with that when the defense does their half. But in regards to the DK conversation, you saw Jake Bobo and why he's the 4th receiver. He's running in a crosser route and Gino comes to him late, but still throws a very catchable ball and he straight out drops it. There's no DB there. There's no nothing. You can't have that. And so that's where I get in this question is people all want to get rid of DK, but I don't think a lot of people realize that there's a very good chance this is Tyler Lockett's last year. Like people don't want to really have that conversation.
No, they don't.
Tyler's going to come back. But the way his contract's structured and everything, I don't see a way Seattle's paying him the money that he's supposed to get next year.
Exactly.
And so with that being said, if you were to trade DK and Tyler is to retire, you're right. You're left with JSN, Bobo, and Derek Young, who, again, Derek Young's never been nothing more than a special teams guy. So it's going to be an ongoing conversation. This was, one of DK's better games. It sounds like from what I've been seeing here so far on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, that you have DK potentially, they're optimistic it's nothing serious,
right,
and that he shouldn't be out very long.
That's good news.
But yeah, the thing for me with it is, everyone always wants to talk about, the receiver class because you can get a receiver like their running backs.
Like it's no problem. Yeah.
There's certain things that, you may get a receiver that might be more polished and might be able to do certain things better than what DK does, but you're not going to get the demand of, defenses eyeing wherever he is. You look at JSN. JSN is probably a 10 times better route runner than DK Metcalf will ever be.
Right.
And he's built more like what
it's some also of these like 5'11"
are like, and he's coming out and so on. And there's guys that are going to be faster than, what JSN is, but you look at JSN doesn't demand anything. And I get part of that's because our offense doesn't use JSN potentially the way they should, and that's something we'll talk about here shortly. But DK demands so much of the defense's attention.
Exactly.
That he does things without actually having to do things. And so that's what you're kind of like. He demanded AJ Terrell all day today. Tyler was able to take advantage. Noah Fant was able to take advantage. And DK had, moments of good plays. Like that post route before halftime was a great ball. And it's very reminiscent. And I said this on X during the game. It was a similar play call to Michael Penix to Jalen McMillan in the Texas-Washington college football playoff game last year, which is this post. You split the ball through two safeties, and you make that play.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of receivers like Jalen McMillan made that catch last year, but I don't know if you put a Derek Young, Jake Bobo, even JSN, where they're able to take that contact and hang on to the ball, is the same kind of outcome you were looking for. So it'll be an interesting conversation. I don't think we should trade DK. Personally, I don't. I think you're able to sign DK and still keep him here for another 3 years before he reaches 30. And then you can reevaluate that conversation in 3 years, because I think he does add a lot. But
I'll say this real quick too about it too. And you talk about, the money gets brought up. People got to stop talking about that. First of all, most people that are talking about it don't have any idea how the cap works and how a good cap guy can move money around. You mentioned Tyler. That's a ton of money off the books if that happens. So why are you even worried about the money? What happens when JSN's contract comes up? Is that going to be your plan? Oh, JSN's balling, he's going to command X amount of money. Let's just go draft 2 more receivers. It doesn't work like that. I don't care if the class is good. Like, it doesn't guarantee that this guy's going to, like JSN was, and I like JSN. He's not a number 1 receiver right now, and he was picked in the first round. So you can talk about all day long about how, it's a great class. Look, this guy is a polarizing receiver. He gets national attention for a reason, because he's a freak of nature. He's a beast. So let's just stop it, man. It's just like, this guy, I want to see this guy long term. I like the 3-year thing you're talking about, because it's a commitment, but it's not, you get over 30 and things can change. And the guy's in the prime of his career. The guy is a prime of his career. Like we're talking right here, like DK passed large. Yeah, exactly. And then, the guy just puts up numbers when sometimes you don't even realize he's putting up the numbers, right? And he does so many other things. Derek Young seems to be forgotten, man. I mean, I don't really think so. It's just this team is so deep at receiver position. Like you just mentioned, Bobo is your number 4, Chenault. Derek's got the physical specs, but again, that's the thing. You can have he just hasn't had the chance to really get on the field. We have a very deep roster. That's just what it is right now.
I will say this. I do agree with Mitch here that Derek Young seems to be a forgotten man, because 2 years ago, Derek Young was used in a variety of ways and was effective in those uses. We used him kind of like an H-back because he was a bigger body guy, and we could do certain things where we get matchups. And that's what he is. He's more of a matchup piece.
Sure.
And I feel like, and he also has a huge influence on our special teams. He's one of our better gunners on special teams when he's been out there, or one of the upbacks.
Yeah.
But his problem's been, he's been inconsistent due to injuries. Like, he's had a lot of, small muscle injuries and stuff like that have kept him out. I personally would like to see him and don't get me wrong, I like Bobo a lot.
Yeah, I like Jake.
But Derek Young, I feel, gives you a little bit, and I'd like to see those two start more of a rotation, because he's got the same physical size as Bobo, if not bigger.
He's more
of an
athletic.
athlete.
Yeah.
He can give you a little bit more, and I would like to see that become a rotation, because I think there's a bit of complacency for Jake Bobo. In the sense that everyone's already said, okay, he's receiver 4. There's no questions to it. Well, when he gets put in situations sometimes to make easy plays like he did today, like that incompletion,
that drops you down the charts.
Well, it can, but the thing for me too was
more of
I looked at it going, that's an easy first down to maintain a drive. We need to have those. We can't give those away
in that situation.
Exactly. And so for me, I went, oh crap, is this going to come back and bite us in the ass? Is Atlanta going to go down the field, score? And this game gets a lot closer. And all it was a simple completion that we needed, and we didn't get it because Jake Bobo couldn't hold on to the ball. And I like Jake Bobo. I'm not saying I don't, but I want to see more of a rotation with him and Derek Young, because I think you're going to start maybe seeing Bobo step up a bit, and it'll also give Derek some playing time. So you figure out, is he's a guy to keep around longer than what he currently is on this roster. But
I gotta ask you something real quick here before you jump in. Talk about Ken. Talk about the value of Ken Walker. First of all, when he laid out, and it was like when Gino put the beautiful ball. But then when that ball's in the air, you saw it happen. You're like, this guy's determined. He's going to make this play. It was just, and there was a couple other plays prior to, I can't remember who, but it was just out of the reach. Maybe JSN. Tyler had it was a tough contested ball, and it was like Ken had in his mind, like, I'm catching this no matter what. And he goes out. That was your running back. Just talk about how important this guy is on this team, and I just think he's getting better. And also, I don't know if people missed it too. Guy's kind of playing with a bit of a flu. I mean, he wasn't feeling 100% this week.
No, he was definitely playing. I've watched him the last 2 years, and when K9 is on and he is healthy, there's one running back that he really reminds me of from like the early to mid 2000s, and it's LaDainian Tomlinson. He is so effective out of the backfield. He can slash, he can cut. And, Tomlinson wasn't a bruiser between the tackles. He just wasn't, but he could churn out 5 yards. But you look at the variety of ways you can get K9 the ball now and his impact. Now, my biggest gripe with K9 is his health. He's not consistently healthy. Like, there's part of me that thinks, maybe he's going to pop up on the injury report this week with a bruised thigh or something, and we're going to be going up to game time. Is he going to play versus Buffalo? If he can show some more durability, that's going to put him over the top for me. And that's where you can start the conversation of, okay, how much do we pay K9 to keep him around? But there were things today, like the 4th down and 1 play call, where because of his effectiveness, you're able to just turn and give a quick dive to Charbonnet with both of them in the backfield.
I love that play call.
Oh, it was great.
Oh,
and
dude.
They all shot with K9 and left this gap for Charbonnet to hit for 5 yards. And that's his effect, right? When you get him involved in the game. And to me, it's so similar to what we talked about with DK, which was we need to get DK all offseason. We need to get DK involved in games early. We need to get him the ball. K9's the exact same way. Get this dude involved, whether it's passing, catching, running, whatever. Get the dude in the ball game so that way you can see how this team's going to react to having to actually defend the run. The best thing I saw as an adjustment by Ryan Grubb, clearly with this mini bye week, is the blocking scheme on a lot of these zone plays offered a lot of cutback room for Ken. And I think also having a more athletic tackle in Jarrell allowed for that to develop. And I think that's what you're seeing maybe with some of the run scheme that we've had in prior games with Stone Forsyth and his inability to leverage and to be powerful in the run game because of how he's built.
Yeah.
Now you saw the difference when you have Mike Jarrell in there and he's able to wash out guys and wash guys down and move and be athletic. And he allows these cutback lanes because the first couple runs of this game that Ken got 7 to 10 yards on were cutbacks. It was zone left, hit the backside and come bouncing all the way back across, which is what he offers you. You don't get that with Charbonnet. Charbonnet is your straight downhill runner. But no, you could see it in his receiving game. You can see it in his running. K9, if you got him going and he's a factor and involved, it opens up all the other opportunities for you in the offense going through. And it relaxes the O-line. That's the biggest thing today. I love the deep play action drops from under center, but that was because we could run the ball. Yeah, and we stayed committed to running the ball. And that's what we have to do.
It was awesome. Talk about this real quick. How going into the half, I mean, God, how awesome was that? I said, man, we got to come out of here with points, right? Because they took the sack. Gino gets sacked there. Well, it was the plus the intentional grounding. Sorry, it was intentional grounding. So you're sitting there like, man. And then I was like 10 seconds. Good thing they had the timeout, or else we would have been going to the half. But then I'm thinking, okay, and even the guys on the telecast talking about quick speed out. Get TK a quick speed out. They got to respect his speed, right? And then boom, they drop back and hit that beautiful post. And then just watching Gino and DK on the sidelines coming together, touching helmets. And, because those guys they talked right after that game last week and the interception. And we talked about that, the headset with with DK, the iPad with Gino, frustration boiling. Niners lost to him how many times in a row? Coming together, it was just like, this is how we can play. And this is how good you and I can be as a combination here. So I don't want to harp on it, but I'm going to throw this up because I love Ken. And I said it on the last show. I said, Ken is I think our best offensive weapon. And because of what he can do, everything he can do, what what opens up when Ken's rolling and when he's involved. But I gotta say, so I mean, DK is blue chipper to me. I mean, he is. I understand there's things he's got to improve in his game, but I mean, I just the importance, like you talked about, everything he does off the ball that people don't realize, what he opens up. It's just everything he does. Yeah, because I don't care about all that other shit, dude. I could care less when he was doing the 15 yards. I could care. I'm not saying the headset was a great look, but I understand the frustration. Like that to me doesn't hinder anything about him. I'm looking at him and I know he's a team guy and I think he's blue chip. So I will say this. Ken is definitely the closest thing, like Ken and DK for me. If I agree with the statement, but I put DK in there as well. Just
so I will say this, and I disagree with you slightly, but I say K9 is for sure our blue chip on offense. He is when he's healthy.
I agree. I think he's the best overall as far as like getting this thing rolling.
Yep.
I agree with you there.
I will say this about DK though. And there's two guys, DK being one of them, and there's one other guy I see as they're on the verge of potentially being blue chip, but they're not there yet. It's DK and Charles Cross. And with that being said, the reason for me DK isn't there yet is I want to see the consistency. I don't want to see I disappear for periods at a time. And even if you're being involved in the offense, I want to see that consistency. That's what makes you, as a receiver, in my opinion, blue chip. It's no different than this discussion than like, JSN was a first round pick and he's not being used appropriately. Right. So that's why, you put those when you draft in the first and second round, those guys should be blue chip players. DK is so close on the verge for me for being blue chip, and this season will determine it. So far, I would say he's closer to being it, yes, than he isn't. But I haven't, and the same with Charles Cross. I need to see Charles Cross be consistent throughout the whole year. At the end of this year, I think the Seahawks have the potential to have three of them on their offense, which is K9, DK, and Charles Cross. They're just not there for me. And I agree with all your points.
Yeah.
But it's just that's how I evaluate my blue chip, and that's where I'm missing DK and Charles being there right now. Fair. So,
but what about this? What about, consistency? And because you know more than anybody how this is the ultimate team game. But Ken's coming off 2 games prior where he ran for 30. So that's not as an individual statistic. That's not consistent. Now we can talk about the play calling and we can talk about the O-line, which is all very important for Ken to get rolling. So like for me, like you said, they were almost coming to a point where they're force feeding DK. You said on the show, the last 2 shows, stop trying to make DK something he isn't.
Agreed.
Right? Stop trying to make him run, 20 different routes in the tree. Like just get him it's one thing to feed him and get him involved. We agree with that. But then don't try to make him something he's not. Just like don't try to make JSN something he's not. Like we talked about, scrap the screen game with JSN, right?
Oh God.
Like let's stop it, because that's what you and I talked about last year was a big thing. Like the only thing Waldron's doing is giving him stupid screens. I think there's other guys that can get you going better in that game than it's just not his thing. He's such a good receiver. And, to your point, not really involved today. But again, a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. Like we talked about, when thing is rolling, Noah Fant's a guy we talk about, had a great game today. So there's another guy that's, needs the football. He's a receiving tight end. But I agree. Like JSN, he's an interesting guy. Like he's talented as hell. Like runs amazing routes. But there's a guy in the next couple seasons. How's this guy? What value does he bring at the end of? Like we're talking DK right now. Say in a couple seasons you can have that JSN conversation, right? You got to see him involved a little more. I agree. But overall today, man, 34 points.
Yeah, but that's because we got the turnovers.
I know, but like, okay, on the offense, so we were having some great drives. There's a couple, whatever, but yeah, the turnovers 34 on the Falcons on the road. And guys, let's not act like the Falcons are a good football team, man. They're a physical team. So the defensive side giving up only 14 points with some backup players on the road. They're on a 3-game win streak, feeling good. Kirk Cousins feeling good. And then you look over on the sideline near the end. Kirk looked like Geno last week. Just like frustrated, almost throwing the iPad down.
Well,
awesome to see.
It was good to see. And I'm going to throw up a couple of our questions now that we've had in here because we've had a few. So Mitch with another good one here. Jenkins has been wildly inconsistent so far. I agree.
Yeah.
Kobe could really take advantage of this. Do you worry about his size? I don't actually, because of the way the NFL game is going with the too high look, with a lot of things in that regard. Like Julian Love is 5'11", 195.
Yeah.
Jenkins and Wallace are our two biggest safeties at 220 and 205, but height-wise, they're not much bigger. And Kobe's 6'1", 193. So he's bigger than Julian. So I think with the system and what Mike McDonald wants to do, he needs guys that are versatile, that can come down, can play in the box and run defend, which Kobe Bryant and Julian Love today were phenomenal in their tackling. Like there were a lot of tackles they made in the open field on their own. And that's what you need from your safeties. You need them to be your surest tacklers on the field. So I'm not worried about his size. I actually think his speed came out more today than Rayshon Jenkins, and being this big bruiser in there. I think Rayshon Jenkins' size is actually a detriment to him in Mike McDonald's scheme in a lot of ways.
Well, let me piggyback off that real quick to talk about size. I know, there's been some criticisms, but to your point about the NFL, I mean, if we're concerned about size right there, well, then you better start being concerned about Spoon size. I know he plays a different position, but he is 180 soaking wet. Like he might not even be that big. So, but he hits and he's aggressive. And I love Spoon. You still love Spoon. But the game, the linebacker position is smaller now than it was, 20 years ago. So yeah, if a guy, I think, look, it's like the old adage. Some guys play bigger than they are, and some guys play smaller. Like the only critique, and I'm not going to sit here and never say anything about DK. Some of the critiques that we've had on him is like, can you consistently play at 6'4", 235 or 240 and high point and not let these smaller guys, take advantage? And so sometimes you have a big guy and he plays smaller, like you just mentioned, So if you got a guy like if you got a guy like Kobe who's coming down and laying it on guys, who gives a shit how big he is? I mean, if that wears down his body and he gets hurt, well, I mean, that's football. But as far as him when he's healthy on the field, man, if he's laying it on dudes, guys like that don't care how big they are. They've been that. Here's the thing: Devin Witherspoon, Kobe Bryant, they've been that size their whole lives. They've been smaller dudes their whole lives. There's a reason why they're in this league. It's a lot of it's up here too. It's about it. I don't care how big you are. My favorite receiver of all time, I know it's on the other side of the ball, is Steve Smith. Because the guy, he didn't care who you are or how big you were. He'll get in a fight with you right now.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. That's the difference that guys have to realize. This is the NFL. Guys, if you see a guy in the league that's a little undersized or smaller, he's there for a certain reason, right? Because he's got that between his ears things that you can't teach that stuff. And that's why Steve Smith is one of the best receivers of his time because of that part of him. So yeah, long said from me, but yeah, I agree, man. Kobe look good. Don't care about his size.
Here's another one from Peter. Post-game press conference talking about George Fant being back soon. It's Jarrell time for me unless Abe is back 85% or better. And so this is something that we discussed earlier. It's something that I'm going to be kind of interested in because if Mike Jarrell keeps playing at this level, I think there's a chance that this pushes Abe's opening of his practice window back to like the very, very max that they can do it to get him back on the roster, because I could see it where they bring Fant back and have Fant play what his role was supposed to be, which is swing tackle. If Jarrell plays like he did today, which to me, honestly, I have one accounted pressure for Jarrell where he really like pressured a sack, but he was opening running lanes. He wasn't getting, bullied around. Like, again, he went up against Matthew Judon most of the game, who isn't some slouch. He's not some washed up guy that can't rush or doesn't really like, you look at the run from K9, him and Christian Haynes made a massive hole
it was awesome
for K9 to get through. So it'll be interesting to see how guys grade out. I think Jarrell might grade out better than some, expect. Who knows with PFF? It could be up in the wind. But the thing I also like to see today that from the offense that I was impressed with is we didn't go into coast mode. You know what I mean? Like we didn't go into a point where, okay, we're up. When we went back down and scored and we were up 24-14, it wasn't like, okay, cool, let's just ride this out and not, press the press the situation and just run the ball and
Keep the foot on the
and
gas.
go into this kind of, hey, we're going to take our foot off the gas. They actually kept it on, went down and scored again off a turnover. And then that was the point where it was like, okay, you know that Seattle's going to win this game. It's going to be really interesting because I think this game gave them a lot of confidence back.
Oh, big time, man.
A lot of ability to trust that the scheme and the system does work. Now you can see the impact of Byron Murphy, and there's one other guy I want to give a shout out to.
Talk about him.
Byron Murphy is a huge impactful player as a rookie. He may not come up with sacks all the time, but the way he can influence that, pocket and create pressure. And the other guy today I was super impressed with was Robertson Harris, our guy that we just traded for.
Right. Yeah.
He made some impact. And I remember on our show, Dana wasn't sure if he was going to play or not. And I said, no, I think 100%.
Both said he was going to.
He fits a role that they didn't have before. And because you could see that Hankins's snap total went down. Robertson Harris, he blew up a toss. Now, here's one negative for me that is still driving me nuts with this team is the run defense. We do not flow and fill backside run gaps the way we should. And I don't know if that's a linebacker complete issue, if that's D-line, what that is. But there was a couple different plays today where Bijan Robinson was stopped. Like the defense initially on the front side had done their job, and he stops and he cuts back. And one was a toss where Robertson Harris, and I think it was Dotson, blew up the toss. Like he wasn't going anywhere. And usually when you blow up a toss and the running back's feet stop, he gets swarmed in from the backside. There was no fill coming, and he was able to stop, cut, and go north-south and get 7 yards on a dead toss play in the backfield. It was dead at 4 yards for a loss. Like, those are the type of things, like if a CMC gets healthy in a couple weeks, that's going to be something that's going to kill us.
Yeah.
We have to have this backside flow containment in our run defense, and it's not there right now. So I hope Mike McDonald and Durde can figure this out, and whatever that linchpin is, they got to pull to make it work, because it's killing us in our run game. Like Atlanta, like they came out passing like I figured they would because our secondary was so beat up.
Test it out.
But then they went to the run game, and that's when they started moving the ball. And luckily inside, we started to bottle things up. But anytime they wanted to stretch anything, and before their O-line started to get banged up, they could move it because they had every cutback lane they wanted.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, there's some things there for sure, and I knew they were gonna, I mean, they got a good running duo there, and I think that's big for them too. And so, like you said, they came out passing, and they realized, hey, let's go back to our bread and butter. And the fact that the Seahawks run defense is poor after through 6 games. That's a funny stat too. When it was like, they showed Ryan Grubb first in passing, last in running. Like it was just like they never see that, but on the offensive side, but we started having a balance on the offense. But on the defense, man, there's gonna be things. I just think this is a huge step. This was, you and I stressed how big this game was coming off of a 10-game mini bye. If you lose and didn't have any improvements anywhere, that would have been a theme the rest of the year. I think after this game kind of shows you like, okay, of course there's still things to clean up. We didn't expect the run defense to be looking great. But there was other things that were like, man, and we came in, and the thing is, guys still believe, and that was huge. The fact that we put up 34, guys, like you said, didn't take their foot off the gas. Like so many things that you're getting back on that plane now going home. And they're going to have a good week of practice. And that's something Mike's probably going to stress. Mike's not going to come in there and just be like, yeah, everything's awesome, we're the best team. There's going to be stuff Monday morning that's talked about. But enjoy this win today, and then we get back to work. But feeling good, having a good Bills team come in your house, that, momentum and confidence is a huge thing. So at least you can be, hey, we're optimistic again. Here we go. You know what I mean? Now you start thinking we could be 5-3. And look, it's going to be a hard game, but you're going home. It's another chance to put a statement and say, look, let's start making home field mean something again. And we've lost the last 2 at home. So let's, this is important. This is another big game. And if you do good, then you face the Rams. I mean, look, we said this next 3 is a big stretch of games.
No, it really is. And, we've got the Bills. We've got the Rams coming in before our bye. Like, if we can go 3-0 over this stretch and get to a 7-3 mark, or 6-3 mark, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
That's huge coming back out when we have to play San Francisco again. Now, Mitch brings up a good point here. Mitch from the 12 Talk podcast. Appreciate you and Josh tuning in, guys. I know it's late over there.
Appreciate you guys.
Is the biggest win the fact that we established the run, or the fact that our beaten up defense stood up and stopped the Falcons? Which contributed to win most?
That's tough.
I would say,
Yeah, you got to think about it.
I got to say, seeing our run game get established and us the offense, because
it felt like a complete offensive game, right? Like, it felt like a full 4.
Yeah, to me, I feel like if our defense had stood up, but our offense was as stagnant as it was versus the Niners or the Giants, we may have been more in a dogfight than we wanted to be. I think the fact that our offense was able to control the game, execute, take turnovers, turn them into points, but we weren't just playing bombs away. We were able to grind out some clock because we could run the ball.
Right.
And make that a factor and keep Geno clean. I think that was one of the biggest reasons you saw a lot of the explosive plays that we had today work. And I think, Mitch, to a point you had earlier on in the show where you said Geno having time and a clean pocket unlocks Grubb's play calling. The fact of the matter was we were able to run the ball, and I think that actually unlocks Grubb's play calling more, is because he can come off play action. He can do a lot of things. So no, I think there's a bit of both in it, Mitch, to be honest with you. I just think us establishing the run and getting that going in the right direction for once, where we actually felt like we could run the ball if we wanted to, might have been the bigger factor in today's victory than our beat up defense standing up, because I think there were enough key pieces we got back, like Murphy and adding of Robertson Harris, that gave us a little bit. Yes, our secondary is beat up, but we still had Spoon, we still had Love, and we obviously now know we can rely on Kobe Bryant as well. So
I was just going to touch on that too. Like you said, now you just shows you that we got a couple guys. And look, I'm not taking away, but you said Jenkins has been inconsistent. Trey Brown's, I like Trey, but he's not been looking good. So it might not have been as much as of a drop off that some people think when they look at that injury report. Woolen obviously having a great season. So yes, being your number one cover guy right now. But I agree with you as far as just putting a complete offensive game together. And, because if we go 3-0, we're sort of looking like that just puts so much pressure on defense. And to your point too, having Murphy back and the new guy. And like we said, another body there in the rotation, right? So, yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, awesome question.
Peter's got a good one here too. 6-3 would be great, but even hitting the bye 5-4 would be quite the thing. Little worried about handling Allen with the run defense. Yeah, Allen, if they have Cook back healthy, I don't know if he is healthy yet. And now obviously the addition with Buffalo, looking ahead to this next week's game a little bit. Buffalo's going to be a challenge. And this is where the 12s are going to have to come, show out, be loud. Buffalo hasn't played here a lot in Josh Allen's career. So, it's a new experience every time for them to come here. I honestly think that Seattle's D-line is maybe better equipped now than ever to handle a Josh Allen type that can move, just because of the athleticism they've built. Robertson Harris is pretty athletic. Leonard Williams, big cat, who I thought, again, came back. You can see he's finally getting back to being healthy. So, that was good. Byron Murphy, you could see the fact of having some of these guys back. And then Robertson Harris, I think, alleviates pressure off of guys like we talked about, Jaron Reed, Jonathan Hankins, even Draymond Jones a little bit. And that was the thing. This was by far Draymond Jones's best game as a Seahawks. He actually impacted the pocket. He was effective in the run game. So it was really good to see, and hopefully, we get maybe this week an update on what's going on with Chenna and how long he could be out for. I will say this. I think it's going to be interesting because I think Seattle's going to be players in the trade market more than people think. I think potentially at the guard position and at the linebacker position. I think they're two areas that they're going to actually be players in more than people maybe think they are. With some of these teams, like, a team like Cleveland that just lost Deshaun Watson today to a torn Achilles, and Jacksonville, even though they won. there's
Well,
still a dumpster fire down there as
yeah.
an organization, so they may be, you know,
Played
wanting to
another
offload
played
contracts.
another dumpster fire today. So
Yeah, if you could call Jacksonville and be like, "Hey, what do you want for Brandon Sheriff?"
sure.
Or Scherf, I think his last name is. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but he's a veteran right guard or left guard. Get him in here. That might help solidify, you know, the offensive line a little bit more. So there's some things I definitely agree. If they go into the bye above 500, we're gonna be happy. 5-4,
We'll be
6-3.
happy.
Yeah,
We'll be
I would
happy.
be
6
happy,
and
and I
3.
think it's possible, but they got to still clean up some stuff. The energy was back today with this team. You could
It was
see it. You could
back.
see,
Dude,
you
it
could
was
trust what was
back.
going on. It was good to see.
And I got to stress on the turnovers, man. It was a huge monkey on that defense's back. Like, come on, let's be honest. They're feeling it. Like, we are not turning the ball over. Like, then they get 3. So it's done now. Now we don't talk about that. They go home and they know they can do it. They know they can do it, and it's not even an issue. And so let's go home. And I think I agree. 6 and 3 would be elated. Like, come on, man. Especially losing 3 in a row in that stretch. You come back, today was the start. We talked about it. We talked about this 3-game stretch is going to determine if they're 6 and 3, they're definitely players in the trade market. There's no question, even at 5 and 4. But we're not jumping ahead because we could look, we could be 4 and 5. These are 2 tough games.
Yep.
And we're going to jump into the preview of the Bills this week. But let's not dismiss okay, if we lose to Buffalo now, we'll knock off the Rams. I don't care what the record is. It's a divisional game, and we're never going to talk like that again because last year we talked about it with guys like Lova. We were joking about it. Like, we looked at the schedule last year. Rams, there's 2 wins, right? And so you never can do that, especially against a divisional opponent. And so 5 and 4, I would still be very happy with. 6 and 3, icing on the freaking cake, dude. Then you just be like, wow, okay, you know. And then you realize how it's a week to week league because you know, oh shoot, we're building block. You're 6 and 3. All of a sudden, you're like, no, you're in a very good contention to win a division. So, but again, one game at a time, guys. Because like I said, today is about enjoying this win, talking about all the positives, talking about a few things that, you know, Mike's probably going to talk about as far as cleaning stuff up. But, you know, it's like you just mentioned, coming in, the energy with this team, and that's going to translate into next week with this team and at home. And we try to feel like, hey, you're not giving the 12s, like whenever you think you're not giving the 12s a chance to be loud, they're going to be loud again because you just came off a great win. And now you're going home and you get a chance to be 5 and 3 and beat Josh Allen. So,
yep. And like Mitch just says right now, Cooks is playing today. So that's going to be a factor next week in that. But yeah, no, it was great overall to see this team finally get back to what, you know, I think they know they're capable of. And yeah,
well, I gotta ask you something here. I know we're not gonna stay on here too long.
Yeah,
but I kind of want to start doing this a little bit, man. Give me a game ball on both sides of the football. So give me a game ball. We'll just start it off with, you know, we won't do special teams. So let's just do defense. Give me a game ball, and offense. Give me a game ball.
Defensive game ball for me. I think I've got to go with. Ooh, that's a really good one.
And if anybody in the comments has a game ball,
anyone in the comments, throw your predictions out.
A game ball here, but you know, if you can get it before Bryce gets in there, but you know, because things are coming in. But give me a game ball, Bryce, before you start looking at the comments.
Yep, I'm gonna go with defensively. I think Byron Murphy gets one for me. He may not have had a sack today, but he impacted that D line. Offensively, I've got to give it to K9. K9 being back with a caveat that I also think I would have given it potentially to Mike Jarrell because he somehow solidified a right tackle for a game, which was kind of a breath of fresh air.
Man, it's
But I would say
Ken just played so good. Yeah, it's Jarrell's like honorable mention probably because
an honorable mention for defense to me is Kobe Bryant. I thought Kobe played well at safety. So my 2 game ball goes out to K9 and Byron Murphy with honorable mentions to Mike Jarrell and Kobe Bryant for them stepping up today as guys that got thrown into starter positions that they haven't been for Jarrell ever. And Kobe hasn't played safety as a starter in this league, and they both played really well today.
Okay, well, I'm going to give a game ball on the offense to Geno Smith. And as well as K9 played, and I love K9, and as amazingly well as Jarrell played coming from Division II, and now you're starting to tackle. He played awesome. But Gino's been under some scrutiny. 3 games in 11 days, lost 3 of them. I don't care what the passing yards were. There's people that were, they hear stuff. Get rid of this guy, bench this guy, whatever. Him and DK to come in and, like I said, for the half to sling a ball like that to DK, and that was a big, huge play. You come up with a field goal, sure, you put points on the board. Atlanta gets the ball. That was a punch in the gut to the Falcons, and I just think the way he scrambled out of some shit, didn't turn the ball over. That was the thing we talked about. He's been turning the ball over. I think he just played a solid. You talk about the offense playing a complete game for the first time really this season. I got to give that game ball to Geno Smith. On the defensive side, yeah, man, Murphy back in that mix. By the way, honorable mention then my game balls to K9, but I love the way Jarrell played. And then defense is tough. I really want to say Kobe. I'm gonna give it to Kobe. Just gonna give it to Kobe just because Byron. Yeah, I'm going reverse with you just because I just think it's so big that he was back and he did make an impact. I mean, Mafe did have that. You could also give it to Mafe because he had that nice strip sack, which was huge.
Derek Hall, there was a group.
It's tough, man. Nah, you know what? I changed my mind. Game ball to Kobe. No, game ball to Kobe, and I give my honorable to Mafe. Because that was a big time strip sack, and it's just awesome to have him back in the mix, healthy too. I know he played last week, but so yeah, there you go. And I see some things.
Yeah, let's throw up some of our listeners' ones. So we've got Brandon Myers, K9, Draymond. Yeah, Draymond had another good game. Peter, he agrees. Kobe, Luke, Mitch actually puts in Myers. Myers did hit a 59-yard field goal down the pipe today, which
that was crazy,
big.
I mean, at that point of the game, though, it was just icing on the cake.
Yeah,
and that actually, you know what? That actually ruined it for me. Well, because anybody following the show, I said,
yeah, we would have been pretty close.
I sat here with Dana, and I said, I got the Hawks, and I even said, I expect the Hawks to put up 31, and you guys were like, damn. And I said, get ready for it. So, as much as I love the 59er from Myers, man, you just, it's one of those things. I don't gamble, right? Like on sports, but it's one of those things where you're just like, if you're a big gambling guy and there's some line there or whatever, and then he hits that unthinkable. But it's great to see him hit that, man. I'm a 59er, right? And
it was good. It's a confidence builder for Myers because he struggled a bit lately.
For sure.
We got Peter with Julian Love. Mitch says Jarrell as well. He thinks he could have been in for it as well. This was something good too. I was actually having a conversation in the Discord of the 12 Talk podcast with Mitch about this. And, Gino moved around the pocket, stepped up like he was suddenly really confident in the protection. Massive vote of confidence in the rookies on the right side. I totally agree. I said today, you saw Gino move about the pocket with confidence in the sense that it wasn't collapsing. There were leaks, yes, as every O-line will have leaks, but you didn't have it completely collapse on him where he didn't have anywhere to go. Jarrell would wash guys. He was able to slide out or up and underneath and still make things happen. And that's what you want to see from your offensive line. Don't collapse. There can be leakage. Just don't let it collapse. So yeah, no, it was a really good, overall bounce back for the Hawks.
Awesome.
And they,
awesome.
Don't drop to 0-4 in conference play. So that's another huge thing for playoff implications if that becomes a reality down the line for this team.
Right.
But yeah, no. So, dude, I think that was a pretty good reaction for us.
Appreciate everyone chiming in and throwing the comments down and just engaging because it's awesome. That's honestly a big reason why we love coming on here live. It's just like engaging with people that follow the show, and it just makes it that much more enjoyable. Obviously, we're breaking down our reactions, but then getting in and involved and everyone coming in. So appreciate everybody that's listening and been dropping the comments because it was a fun show, and it's a fun show because it's always a fun show when the Hawks win and put a beat down on team. Look good. I'm hyped, man. And here's the thing, man. We talked about it all year. We're having fun this whole season. I know, like, you can get down on the team and you critique the team, and that's what you're here for. You're gonna critique the team a bit, and when they're not playing good, there's gonna be questions. But we're not down on the squad. we love a lot of these guys on this team. We think they're Mike McDonald is going to be a good head coach. So it's just, but then, you know, when you get games like this, it's just, man, it's just that much better, because that's why you're a fan, right? For things like this, to sit back and just watch your team put together a game like this. So it was awesome, man. I'm looking forward. I almost wish it was Sunday tomorrow, because I can't wait to play the Bills. I'm serious. That's the only problem with the NFL. It's once a week. You gotta wait a week. And
I know.
It's just tough, dude. Like, and then it goes by too quick. You know, like, you're probably gonna watch the tape later, and I'll watch the game again, because it's one of those games where you definitely want to watch it again. But yeah, so it's good, man. It's good. I think there's just so many positives, guys. So we appreciate it. If you're watching the show, you haven't done it yet, go down, hit the subscribe button, and share the vids and then all that stuff. Really helps with the channel.
We've got a couple. Go ahead, Ryan.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'll just say real quick.
So tomorrow, guys, we kind of have a new segment that we've got, or a new show. Actually, I should say it's a new show that'll be a part of the Hawk Zone Rundown going forward every 2 weeks. This will be the first one. We have Pulse of the Hawks. We have Mookie Alexander from Field Goals. We saw a lot of demand from our listeners that we really wanted to have Mookie back on the show as a regular thing. So we'll have a live show every couple of weeks with Mookie, where he's going to come on. He's going to give his, feelings, what's going on with the Hawks, what he's hearing, and give us kind of the pulse on the Hawks and what's going on. And you guys can join in, ask your questions to Mookie. So it'll be on 6:30 on Monday, this coming tomorrow, I should say. And then me and Ryan will do as we normally do. We'll do a preview show as well for the Bills game this week that we'll get out before Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, awesome stuff. Yeah, Mookie's awesome, and we can't wait for that. So, guys, make sure you tune in for that. And yeah, so guys, enjoy today. Just go rest, go watch the rest of the games, and hopefully the Niners lose here. So let's go sit back and watch that now. Get off.
Hope, man.
Yeah, hey, but they're playing the Chiefs, so that's good. That's a good thing. Yeah, so that's it. Hawks again, big winners, man. We are pumped. So yeah, guys, just have an awesome Sunday, and we'll see you guys here on the next one. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.